From the very beginning, it was all too good to stay like this forever. And on that very day, the moment I was so afraid it would ever happen came. Even in my fantasies, I could not have imagined that everything would turn out so unexpectedly. Stay till the end to find out how it all ended for me. I wasn't expecting anything more than bills and junk mail, the kind of paper clutter that lands on the kitchen counter before getting ignored for days. But tucked between a grocery store flyer and a pre-approved credit offer was a thin white envelope, the city's seal in the corner, and my name printed sharp and formal across the front. I slid it open absently, expecting a vehicle registration notice. What I found made me pause, then read again. A traffic violation. Illegal parking in a part of the city I hadn't set foot in since high school. Time-stamped. Wednesday, 2:14 p.m. The corner of Harker and Ninth. I stared at the attached photo like it was a puzzle I'd missed a key piece of. There, just beside my car, stood Lauren, my wife, her hair tied back, wearing the old green coat I bought her last fall. She wasn't alone. A man, taller than her, leaned in close as they laughed. I couldn't make out his face. The angle was all wrong, but he was built wide, muscular. They weren't near any zoo. Behind them, a barbershop sign flickered in the daylight. That day, she'd told me she was taking the kids to the zoo. Packed snacks, sunscreen, the whole thing. When I asked how it went, she'd said it was tiring but fun. Something about the meerkats being hyper. I remember smiling, trusting. I even rubbed her shoulders while she scrolled through nothing on her phone. Now I felt like a trap door had opened under me. That evening, we sat across from each other at the dinner table, the kids between us, chattering about school and dinosaurs and jelly beans. I nodded and played the part, but under the table, my leg bounced nonstop. Lauren looked tired, or maybe just distant. When I offered to do the dishes, she didn't even argue, just gave me that glazed-over thanks that wasn't really a thanks. After the kids went down and she turned in early, claiming a headache, I took her phone from the charger and headed to the garage where the Wi-Fi signal was weaker, less chance of syncing. She'd deleted most of her gallery, but I knew her habits. Lauren wasn't tech-savvy enough to clear the backup cache. And sure enough, with a few tricks I learned years ago during a panic over accidentally deleting baby photos, the hidden folder sprang to life. Most of it was harmless. Selfies, coffee cups, a clouded sky. But then I found it. A shot of her legs stretched across a blanket, a half-finished bottle of wine beside her. In the blurred background, a man's torso filled the corner of the frame. Shirt off, skin inked, and wrapped around his neck, a thick black coil, unmistakable even in blur. A snake, its tongue extended like it was ready to strike. I just stared. Everything around me, the distant hum of the dryer, the low buzz of the garage light, faded out. The snake wasn't just ink, it was a signature, a scream in silence, the kind of thing someone doesn't forget, not even in a dream. I closed the photo but didn't delete it. Instead, I saved it twice. Once to a hidden cloud account, once to a flash drive I kept buried in an old DVD case under the basement stairs. Paranoia? Maybe. But that photo was more than evidence. It was a shift, a line that had been crossed. When I returned to the bedroom, Lauren was asleep, breathing even, the soft shape of her back rising and falling. I watched her for a long time in the dark, not with love, not even anger. Not yet. Just this growing, twisting thing in my chest I hadn't felt since I was a teenager and found out my dad had been hiding a second family across town. I lay beside her, not touching, not dreaming, just listening. Like the silence might confess something she wouldn't. And in that silence, something inside me broke. Not loud or sudden, just a hairline fracture in the foundation. Tomorrow I knew I'd start digging. The next morning I told Lauren I'd booked a trip to Atlanta. Some marketing conference, I said. Industry workshops, networking, the usual corporate song and dance. She blinked, a little surprised, maybe even a bit relieved. I waited for a flicker of guilt in her eyes. Something small, something human. But she just nodded, said it sounded like a good opportunity, and asked when I was leaving. Tomorrow, I answered. I'll be gone about a week. Before she could respond, I called my mom. Told her I needed a favor. a big one, watching the kids for a few days. I made up a story about hotel construction noise, jet lag, not wanting to drag them through it all. She agreed, of course. My mom always had a sixth sense when something was off. Didn't ask too many questions, just told me to drop the kids off whenever. Lauren didn't argue about the kids going to grandma's. Maybe she was relieved. Fewer loose ends to tie while she chased whatever thrill the snake man gave her. By Thursday morning, the kids were buckled in the back seat, clutching backpacks and snack bags. I kissed their foreheads outside my mother's house, told them to be good. They waved as I pulled away. As soon as I turned the corner, I didn't head toward the airport. I drove straight back into the city. Back home, I didn't park in the garage. I left the car a block away, walked back, and entered through the alley. I moved through the house like a ghost, opening drawers, checking coat pockets, syncing devices. Her laptop was still logged into the Wi-Fi. That was my window. I called Aaron. We hadn't spoken in years, not since college, but he picked up on the second ring. His voice hadn't changed, still carried that low, mischievous calm that always hinted he could break into the Pentagon if you gave him enough coffee and the right playlist. "Need a favor," I said. "I figured," he replied. I gave him remote access through a patchy hotspot. Within the hour, Lauren's camera was his to control. She wouldn't know, not unless she updated her system, and Aaron said she hadn't in over a year. Perfect. We ran a test. The webcam flicked on for just half a second, barely a blink, then off again. Silent, unnoticed. "Give it a night," Aaron said. "Let's see what she's really like when she thinks no one's watching." I slept in the guest room that night, a twin mattress pushed against bare drywall, phone resting on my chest like a loaded weapon. Around 8:40 p.m., the feed came in. Aaron had set it to auto record. Lauren appeared in front of the screen, hair tied high, black silk robe, eyes glazed with wine or confidence or both. She was dancing, twirling, her hands lifting, teasing the air. Then she laughed and typed something on her phone. I leaned closer as Aaron mirrored her screen. The message, "I'll leave him only the kitchen towels." She laughed again. I didn't. I screen captured everything. Her dancing, the message, her smile. That smile. Not like the one she wore at our wedding or the one she gave the kids when they jumped on the couch. This was different. This one had no space for me in it. Later that night, I searched for him, the tattooed man. I didn't know his name, but that ink was distinctive. I scoured Instagram hashtags, Facebook friend tags, but LinkedIn broke the case. Lauren's connections had changed recently. Among the new ones, Kyle Mercer, co-owner of Ink Drop Studios, located not far from where my car had been parked. His profile picture was clean, boring even, no tattoos visible. But one of the photos from his studio's page showed him at an event, standing sideways. And there it was, creeping up from his shirt collar. The snake. Same one. Same design. Kyle Mercer, ex-con, drug possession, minor assault, jail time, 7 years ago. I dug through public court records and found his probation officer's name. The guy barely kept a low profile. He'd co-signed a joint auto loan with Lauren 2 years back. I blinked at that detail. My name wasn't even on that loan. Lauren had told me she'd taken care of it through her own account. That's what she said. My own account. I never thought to question it. So there it was. They'd been financially entangled for longer than I'd ever suspected. She didn't just fall for some charming street artist on a whim. She'd been tied to him, possibly still was. I sat in the kitchen, watching the video of her dance loop again and again on the laptop screen. My hands were steady, my breathing low. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. That was gone. What replaced it was something colder, cleaner. I looked around the house we built together, the art she picked, the spice rack labeled in her handwriting, the lamp we fought over at IKEA, and then I opened the safe under the floorboard, pulled out the folder I'd prepared months ago, before I even knew what I was preparing for. Inside, a forged series of messages suggesting my own affair, with a fabricated coworker, a woman who didn't exist. Photos doctored with me cropped beside someone from a stock image set, made to look candid and careless. A hotel receipt printed with my name. Believable, but deniable. Just enough to create noise if needed. I also pulled out the house documents. Mortgage, deed, copies of Lauren's signatures next to mine. I took the flash drive and slid it into a small envelope. Labeled it Happy Anniversary. That was coming up in 3 days. I booked the rooftop table a week in advance, like a man in love would. Told them it was our anniversary. Wanted candlelight, roses, the works. The hostess on the phone sounded thrilled. "Anything special planned?" she asked. I smiled into the receiver. "Oh yeah," I said. "Something she'll never forget." The day came with a cruel, golden sunset. I wore the same jacket from our honeymoon dinner in Naples. She noticed, told me I looked good in navy, touched my arm like she used to when things were normal. I kissed her cheek. She blushed. I almost laughed. The rooftop was buzzing when we arrived. Champagne already chilled, folded napkins standing like little flags of civility. She was radiant. That black dress she never wore anymore. Lipstick too dark for casual occasions. She thought we were healing. She thought I didn't know. The waiter was in on it. Friend of a friend. Tall, discreet, and fast. We ordered wine. Talked about the kids. I let her lead the conversation. Let her think the silence from the last few days had melted under the glow of white string lights. She looked out across the skyline like it was a painting and not the cage we'd built our lives in. When the wine came, the glass shimmered in the candlelight, and beneath it, placed just so, was a silver flash drive. She noticed it before she picked up her drink. Her hand paused. Her lips parted, barely. "What's this?" she asked. "Gift," I said. "Something personal." She slid the drive into her purse, glancing around nervously, like someone had handed her a vial of poison in public. "Play it tonight," I added, "after the kids are asleep." Her smile twitched, but she nodded, tucking it away like it might bite. We finished dinner in strained pleasantries. She joked about early gray hairs, about planning a family trip. I played along, chuckling where needed, watching her throat every time she swallowed wine. By dessert, her left leg was bouncing under the table. Subtle, but it was there. Panic wearing its quietest shoes. When we returned home, I let her go in first. She went straight to the bedroom, clutching her purse tight like it might leak. I stayed in the kitchen pretending to check emails. A few minutes later, I heard the click of the laptop powering up. Then silence. Just the hum of the air conditioner, the slow shift of our lives about to detonate. She didn't come back out. I waited. Eventually, I walked upstairs and found her sitting on the bed, laptop frozen on a frame mid-video. Her face mirrored it, wide-eyed, breath caught, lips trembling like someone had just read their own eulogy aloud. She started. "Nice technique," I said. "For animals." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Just a tremble. And then she ran, like actual, full sprint, past me, barefoot down the stairs, front door slamming like thunder behind her. Left her purse, left her shoes. I stood there for a moment. No adrenaline, no satisfaction, just cold clarity. Then I went to the closet. In the safe, I pulled out 2 letters. One looked aged, crumpled slightly at the corner. Forged messages between me and a fake woman, designed to look like an affair exposed. The other, typed neatly, was a note of apology for the emotional distance I'd supposedly inflicted on Lauren, hinting I was considering separation, but not sure how to tell her. All of it crafted like the world's saddest soap opera script. I slipped both into her dresser drawer, just barely peeking out, like she'd hidden them carelessly. Let her spin her own narrative from that. Let her question how much I knew, and when. Then came the house documents. Everything official, everything signed. I moved them into the luggage she kept in the guest room closet, folded neatly beneath her spare makeup bag and passport. Nothing too hidden, nothing too obvious. By the time she returned, sometime after midnight, her makeup was smudged and her eyes red. She didn't speak, just walked past me into the bathroom and locked the door. I didn't knock. I didn't need to. The next morning, I walked into the lawyer's office with a folder in my hand and a knot in my chest. He was older than I expected. Sharp suit, graying temples, eyes like black glass. "You want a divorce?" he asked after glancing through the papers. "No," I said. "I want revenge." He leaned back slowly, nodding once. "Then we'll do this right." She was still walking on eggshells when I told her about the job offer. Big firm. Out of state. "New York," I said over coffee. "Headhunters tracked you through LinkedIn. You impressed someone." Lauren blinked. A flutter of hope? Maybe. Or just ego stirring. I told her I didn't mind if she took the interview. I smiled when I said it. Played the supportive husband with practiced ease. She nodded slowly like she was trying to believe I meant it. The plane ticket arrived in her inbox that afternoon. One way. Booked by Glenn Monroe, a fake executive profile my stripper friend Roxy helped me build. Clean site, polished resume, plenty of high-rise promises and artificial credibility. It didn't need to last long, just a few days, just long enough to unravel her. Roxy planted the bait. A sleek email, full of compliments, jargon-heavy flattery, and a hotel reservation at a boutique midtown spot. "Interview at 10 a.m. sharp," the message said. "Bring 2 forms of ID and any relevant credentials." I watched her pack the night before. She double-checked her outfit, tried on shoes in front of the mirror, staring at herself like she was about to rewrite her life. Her phone buzzed with a message from Glenn. She smiled at the screen. The next morning, she left before sunrise. She thought I was still asleep. I wasn't. She didn't know the credit card in her purse was fake, slipped in the night before. Name slightly altered, just enough to get flagged. When she arrived at the hotel, they handed her a folder. Glossy printouts of the company, the job details, the schedule. All real enough to believe. Just before her interview, 2 officers approached in the lobby. Calm, polite, but firm. "We're going to have to ask you to step outside, ma'am." She didn't scream, but I heard later that her voice cracked when they opened her purse and pulled out the card. I had it flagged 2 days prior. A quiet little fraud report, linked to an identity that didn't exist. They questioned her for half an hour. Nothing formal, no arrest, but just enough confusion and fear to crack the veneer. She flew back home that same night, but home wasn't home anymore. She arrived around 10 p.m., rolling her suitcase up the front steps, only to find the locks changed. Not just the knob, the deadbolt too, and a sign on the door, a wide vinyl banner stretched from pillar to pillar. "Thanks for the years of lies." I made sure the neighborhood saw it. Some watched from windows. Others stepped outside under porch lights, pretending to fetch mail or take out trash. One of the teens across the street filmed it. His laugh echoed as Lauren stood frozen in front of the door, mouth slack, hands shaking around the suitcase handle. Her belongings were in boxes stacked neatly against the wall, labeled by room, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, just like movers would do. I even added bubble wrap. She knocked for a while, then longer, then stopped. The lights never came on inside. She called twice. I let it ring. I wanted her to sit in that silence, to feel the weight of it. By midnight, she was still sitting on the front step, crying into her hands. The kids were already asleep. At my mom's, tucked in safe. No questions, no explanations. I left a note inside the foyer, just in case she found a way in. Taped it to the glass where she'd see it, written in clean block letters. "This is the clean version. You should pray it doesn't go viral." I meant it too. Courtrooms always smell like anxiety and disinfectant, like someone tried to clean up 1,000 nervous breakdowns and failed. I sat beside my lawyer, crisp suit, ice in his voice, while Lauren walked in behind hers, thinner than I remembered, jaw tight, eyes flicking around like they were trying to find a way out. She barely glanced at me. The hearing was about financial disclosures, routine, formal, but not for me. I brought the real ammunition, transfer records, timestamps, routing numbers. Lauren had been funneling money, not large amounts but consistent withdrawals, always rounding off before payday. Transfers that slipped just beneath the threshold where I'd questioned them. All of it sent to an account belonging to Kyle Mercer. Snake tattoo, tattoo parlor dropout, ex-con who apparently didn't care where the money came from, as long as it showed up. I submitted everything, paper trail as clean as snow and just as cold. Her lawyer tried to shift the conversation, questioned the relevance. But my attorney raised a hand like a conductor about to cue the orchestra. "We're not just arguing over property," he said. "We're addressing concealed financial activity, misrepresentation, hidden partnerships." The judge nodded, and just like that, her assets were frozen. I watched her fingers twitch, watched the truth crawl across her skin like ants. After court, I made my next move. Quietly, surgically, I edited a video. Not the original one of her dancing half-naked for the laptop. That stayed locked away. This one was different. Just enough implication. Just enough to look like a confession. A screen-recorded interview spliced from bits of her, talking about work, mixed with suggestive sound bites. Cut together, it looked real enough to destroy. I sent it anonymously to her new employer. By Friday, her email signature vanished from their website. LinkedIn changed. Friends stopped commenting on her posts. She wasn't fired, they just stopped calling. That's how this world works now. No one burns you out loud. They just let you vanish. Meanwhile, I dug into Kyle's life. Found his mother through an obituary guest list. Then his brother. Then finally his church-going aunt. The only one in that family tree was social media that wasn't set to private. She had no idea who Lauren was. So I sent her everything, every transfer, every intimate transaction, every flagged purchase Lauren had made using his debit card. Because yes, she'd been draining him too, using his own loyalty against him like she did with me. At first just Uber rides and groceries, but then furniture, spa visits, an order from a boutique lingerie store in Chicago. $200 she didn't even wear for him. I didn't have to forge anything this time. Truth was enough. 3 days later, Kyle blocked her number. I confirmed it through a dummy text. Bounced instantly. Lauren had no job, no access to money, and now no one to blame but herself. Her calls grew desperate. I let them pile up, let them rot on my voicemail like forgotten prayers. Sometimes I'd play the first few seconds, just to hear the static in her breath before she tried to speak. That weekend, my lawyer updated me. She couldn't cover her legal fees. She tried to file for financial aid, but the joint account was still under review. Everything else had been scrubbed. She started selling things. Her handbag, her tablet, a pair of earrings I bought her for our 6th anniversary. Gone. Then came the car. I watched it get towed off the street while she stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, trying not to cry. I heard from Roxy again, the stripper. Said Lauren reached out to Glenn Monroe, asking if there were still any openings in New York. Glenn, of course, was already gone. Deleted. Buried. Just like the life she tried to trade me in for. The motel she ended up in was the kind of place that didn't bother pretending. Cracked stucco walls, a flickering vacancy sign that buzzed like a dying wasp, and curtains that hadn't been washed since Obama's first term. She was in room 14, near the ice machine that didn't work. I parked 2 blocks down, walked the rest with a manila folder in one hand and a lukewarm coffee in the other. She opened the door fast, too fast, like she'd been staring through the peephole for hours. Lauren looked like a memory, soft hoodie clinging to her frame, hair tied back with the kind of scrunchie she used to wear around the house on Sundays. Her face was pale, bare, and her eyes darted behind me, like she was still hoping someone else would show up too. But it was just me, and everything I knew. She took the coffee without asking what it meant, just wrapped her fingers around it and stared at the steam like it might say something kind. "I'm pregnant," she said. No build-up, no ceremony, like it had been waiting in her throat all day. I didn't blink. "Whose?" I asked. Her hands twitched. "Yours," she said too quickly. "Of course It's not," I interrupted, calm as a clock. She blinked fast, trying to pull the tears forward. "I haven't been with anyone else since..." I pulled out the test result from the same urgent care clinic where I'd traced her medical history. Not only not pregnant, she hadn't even been in. It was all bluff, a last-ditch Hail Mary with no ball in the air. "You didn't even try," I said. "You just lied." She looked down at her hands like maybe they could fix it if she held still long enough, but the silence kept ticking. And then I unfolded the second page, a transcript of her voice copied line by line. "I'll sell his watch. He won't notice anyway. She flinched like it physically hit her. I noticed, I said, because it was the last thing my dad ever touched. You knew that. I dropped a photo on the bed. Grainy pawn shop surveillance. Time-stamped, undeniable. Her hand reaching across the counter. A tiny box being slid toward her. It might have been a necklace. Or ashes. I needed money, she murmured. Number you wanted chaos, I replied. Money you already had. From me, from Kyle, from anyone dumb enough to believe your act. But you still sold it. Like everything else that meant something. She sat down on the bed slowly, like her body had stopped trusting itself. The mattress creaked under her, cheap springs crying out under too much history. I didn't sit. I just laid down the final envelope. One simple sheet, government seal, certified delivery, her name, and the words, Visa status revoked. She blinked once, then again. Her lips parted, reading it twice. And when it clicked, when the last pillar fell, her voice dropped so soft it barely touched the air. I don't have anywhere to go. Her face collapsed, eyes glassing over. I could see the realization settle in. Not just that she'd lost me, or the house, or the money, but that she'd lost herself. Somewhere in all that chasing, she became a ghost in her own skin. I let it hang in the air, not because I wanted it to hurt, but because it needed to. I know, I said. She tried to stand, but her legs buckled. I caught her for a second, just enough to steady her, not enough to comfort her. She held onto my wrist a second too long, fingers digging in like she wanted to stay attached to something real. But I pulled free. I turned to leave. No slamming door, no shouting, just that awful, unforgiving quiet. The kind that only comes when a lie has nowhere left to hide. The cafe came together faster than I expected. Nothing fancy. Exposed brick walls, dark wood counters, an old-school espresso machine that hisses like it's got something to say. My buddy Mason runs it with me. He's the kind of guy who knows every supplier by name and still insists on making the playlists himself. The vibe's good. Locals come back, tourists post photos, and every now and then, someone recognizes me, not from high school or the neighborhood, but from the video. Not my face, of course. I never showed that. Just her, dancing in front of the laptop like the world couldn't possibly bite her back. It went viral, quietly. No title, no commentary, just a caption. Watch how betrayal moves when it thinks no one's watching. Thousands of shares, hundreds of comments. A few podcasts tried to trace the origin, but they never got far. I kept my name clean. Never said a word. The story told itself. People send interview requests sometimes. Offers for articles, podcasts, even a documentary crew out of Berlin. I ignore most of them. The ones I reply to get the same line. The truth didn't belong to her. It belonged to me. I already got what I needed. Marie came into my life 6 months after the dust settled. Seattle-born, Nikon always in hand, hair like winter sunlight, and a voice that wraps around a room without needing to be loud. She came in asking if she could photograph the cafe for a local art project. I said yes because her eyes didn't flinch when she looked at mine. They saw me, not the shadow, just the man still standing in the smoke. We've been together ever since. The kids, they're okay. They smile again, laugh when they're supposed to. I kept them out of it as much as I could, but kids always know more than you want them to. They never asked why the house changed or why their mom stopped coming around. Maybe one day they will. And when they do, I'll tell the truth. Just not all at once. Some days I take the long way home. That's how I saw her. Standing in line at the soup kitchen on 13th, hood up, shoulders hunched like she was trying to disappear into the seams of her coat. I slowed the car to a crawl at the red light, watched her shuffle forward. She looked thinner, paler. Whatever shine she used to chase was long gone now, scraped off and forgotten. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did, but didn't recognize me in the clean car, in the new life. Or maybe she did recognize me and just couldn't hold the stare. I could have rolled down the window, could have said something sharp, asked how the food was, but I didn't. I just looked at her through the windshield. The woman who once laughed at my jokes, made birthday pancakes for our kids, said she'd love me forever, and realized I didn't feel anything at all. No anger, no ache, just air. The light turned green. I drove. Marie was already home when I got back, feet tucked under her on the couch, flipping through a book on Icelandic street photography. She looked up, smiled, and asked if I wanted to take a trip this fall. "You could use a vacation," she said. "Yeah, I think I could." That's all for now, folks. Thank you for being with me today and listened. And if you liked my story, please subscribe, hit the like button, and comment below what you think about all this and what would you do if you were me. Also, don't forget to check my other stories in description below.